before we begin, we want to shout out to our parents because we see them as the ultimate creative collaborators, because if they had never had sex, we wouldn't be here today.
So we're Wade and Leta, two people. We live in New York City. We have a studio that's in Brooklyn. It is never this clean. This is the rarest you'll ever see it. But we're also married, so basically no alone time ever. This is literally what it's like on a daily basis. And we do almost everything together. And I say almost because we need to have a couple of boundaries, so we don't commute to the studio together. It's nice to have a little thinking time. We don't exercise together because Wade talks too much, except for this one time. Only once.
I got her.
And we don't poop together because that's gross. I mean, we share so much. I'm not going to tell you if that's real or not. But even though we do so much together, the two of us are still really different people. So for me, I grew up in New York, and when you think New York, you typically think something like this. But it's actually a lot more like this. So this is upstate New York. No art museums, no shopping malls. We didn't even have traffic lights in our town, just corn and cows, and that's it. And I had bangs growing up. I've had bangs for 30 years. I'm 30.
Yeah.
Never changing.
And that's me. Lightsaber. I guess it's a little dirty. Sorry. And like Leta, I've gone back to my roots and got the same mushroom cut I've had since I was a kid. Drawing dicks since I was a kid too. And about 7 years ago, I moved to New York and started doing a road trip. I got to meet my hero, Jack Black. I said, Jack Black, let me play guitar on you. Jack Black, show me your craziest face. What's Jack Black been up to, guys? Look up there. And when we come together, we make stuff like this. And despite what we do, we don't really know what to call ourselves. We do so many things that we don't really have set roles. And we are total control freaks, but we sort of do everything. But at the end of the day, I guess we are designers and art directors. But we're also photographers. We're also body painters. We're usually the models in our work. We're also florists sometimes, set builders. Sometimes we do 3D. We build brands. We do murals. We're also teachers as well.
Basically, we're just total goofs who want to have a good time while we're making our work.
Sorry, I'm distracted.
And we like to think we're a bit DIY, like we're scrappy, and we don't really have any formal training outside of design. We just teach ourselves programs as we need them, and sometimes our approach can be a little bit backwards, and we try to be in every aspect of our work, whether we're drawing or designing or building or modeling or photographing. We just put a lot of effort into something because we want to make sure that it evokes a response. And as we said before, we do spend a shit ton of time together, and that's because we work together and we're married to one another, and we have these similar appreciations and admirations, as well as needs and desires, which, you know, as a couple can be both physical and mental. And so this is kind of how we break up our time. Hopefully more drinking wine at the end of the day.
But we know things can't always be perfect, and you can't have the good without the bad, and you need to take time to not work on things and do things that you enjoy. Favorite slide of the presentation? Cool. Like going to galleries and sort of experiencing art and being inspired, because we see work and life being the same thing. One influences the other, and if both are good, we're very good, I guess, and we're happy. But like also riding roller coasters and being idiots, but also traveling, because it keeps us inspired, it keeps us grounded, and it allows us to change perspectives and sort of adapt and explore new things. That's why it's amazing to be here in your beautiful city.
And since Wade and I were both young, we've both been really obsessed with anime and manga and all sort of fantastical storytelling. And even like on our first date, it took us an hour to order a drink because this was one of the first things we talked about. But it's played like a pretty pivotal role in where we think and where we get our references from and where our inspiration comes from. So things like Evangelion, like giant robots that are saving the world from destruction.
Yeah, fucking awesome.
Evangelion World, we've been there. Talk to us about it.
Akira, amazing. Ghost in the Shell, Slam Dunk, a little bit of a deep cut for some. Pokemon, of course, amazing. But I guess when we were kids, this show specifically, Takeshi's Castle, I don't know if anyone watched this, but being kids and being up super late at night when you should be in fucking bed, but you're jacked up on sugar, you know, watching this, I guess this is a big inspiration for us because it's so DIY, it's so silly, but it's so captivating at the same time, / terrifying. Like the water ones in the top right and the top left, fucking terrifying. But then also things like these characters and these, like Godzilla, like and looking at sort of Haruo Nakajima, who is Godzilla for the most part, knowing that it was a costume, it was just a dude in a suit, and whenever you look at photos of him, he's just smoking on set with a fucking big smile on his face.
So it's pretty hard for us to make these boundaries between our work and our lives, and it doesn't require this formula, but for us to live and work together successfully without wanting to rip each other's heads off every day, there are a couple things we need to maintain. So we need to have honesty, we need to have compassion, we need to show our vulnerability, and we need to have a place to live and a place to work that's separate from that place to live.
But we understand some people need that separation, but for some people prefer to be with someone that's the exact opposite, and that's fine for us. But for us, we, you know, our lives are intertwined, and we sort of eat, sleep, and work together all day, every day.
And we're sure you guys are probably wondering, like, how did this magic happen in the first place? Like, why are we here? And when did we start working together? And are we really a couple, or is this just all a performance? But about 5 years ago, we both signed up for profiles on this online dating website called OkCupid. I had a really corny profile page where I said I'm really good at Bezier curves. Graphic design nerds out there, you know what that is. And you should message me if you know who Joseph Mueller-Brockman is, also very deep-cut graphic design, which Wade apparently was into because he sent me a message, and we hit it off immediately. And very quickly, we began to try and push this relationship and make something together. And we wanted to find a way to make something that could be productive and experimental, but also influenced by this newfound intimacy. And making is so much a way in which you're thinking and feeling. And so we wanted to find a way in which we could sort of experiment with this newfound love that we had.
And then we found this image. Incredible. What are they doing? Who the fuck are they? What party is this? Is it even a party? Why are they sucking on a banana? What are those doilies? All this amazing stuff. So then we made our own interpretation and started this project called Compliments, this experiment for us, because as a relationship, we fuel each other forward, and we're not hesitant to take risks, you know, especially with this. Like, we're all open with that. And it's a series that explored our complementary relationship, but also this idea of the universal strangeness of love that we're really into. And when the experiment started, we named it Compliments because we balance each other out and we fuel each other forward. And neither of us sort of are scared of anything, right? Yeah.
And through this project, we learned that not only is there this passion for the work, but also this emotional attachment to the work and to each other. And we could push each other for better results, which would improve the consistency in our work. And we could stay honest and true with our opinions without having this fear of failure. So, you know, if it's shit, your partner's going to tell you it's shit. But if it's great, your partner's also going to tell you it's great. Total honesty.
And then when the project sort of got taken by Instagram, we were sort of like, it got taken to a new place. It got pushed to millions of people around the world. And it was weird because we felt like we were truly being endorsed for not only the collaboration, but also our relationship. And it really helped elevate Compliments to something else, something we never really expected it to be. And it was something that we just did to explore our relationship, but getting people to feel sort of our emotions equaled the ultimate success with any project. And sort of that got pushed to other places and allowed us to make a book with googly eyes on the front that you could shake, and allowed us to be graphic designers as well and make a really thick, awesome book. But it also gave people who probably have too much time to make a parody account, which I guess that's fun.
And to clarify, this was never really a goal of ours. Like, we weren't dating each other to work together. It just happened for us to naturally talk about our work and our ideas and our dreams. And Compliments was this project that changed our life trajectory completely.
And we hit 58 images, and the work and our life had evolved to this whole new stage. Compliments helped us explore our relationships' growth and also helped us document and develop sort of our love and trust in one another at the same time. And we wanted our work and our projects to move to a new place. I also needed a visa in America. So we got married secretly at City Hall. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Leta's parents. But we did it.
Yeah, none of our parents were at our wedding. But this project taught us that ultimately, not only were we great in a relationship, but we could share our work and confide in each other and trust each other's opinion with this utmost value and respect. And we found that we just needed to be, again, honest with each other to get what we needed. Honesty with yourself, and of course, honesty as a couple.
And so we've got some friends we've got to bring on stage. They're going to have some fun with us. But since we've been dating, we've been making a bunch of work. Here it is. Turn the music up. our first time doing that.
dancers.
Amazing. So our friends are going to stay on stage with us too, which is also extra great. And Making Compliments was a project that made us closer as a couple, but also as creatives. And it gave us this revelation that we could use design as a way to not be stagnant and interactive. Aren't you guys tired? But it also is something that it allowed us to sort of keep ourselves alive through our work and make our bodies and our minds work at the same level to keep ourselves energized. And these are our heroes, Arakawa and Madeline Gins. And they're heroes to us. One was a poet, one was an architect, and they inspired us with We Have Decided Not to Die. And that was all inspired by our trip for us to Yoro, Japan, where we went to this place called the Site of Reversible Destiny. It's this park, it's a maze, it's also this mirrored puzzle in the middle of this huge mountain range where we could all be kids.
And this was our first introduction to their work. And this place, like all of their other artworks, they're filled with these bright colors and geometric shapes and these sort of weird mind fucks. And their work ignites this certain mentality in which humans are meant to grow backwards in age and exercise their bodies as well as their brains when you're experiencing their work. So whether it's this Thank you. Whether it's this geometric apartment complex where there are no corners in any of the apartments, and they have really bumpy floors, or this museum that's in the middle of rural Japan, which exists inside this big drum just in the middle of a field. When you enter these spaces, you have this compelling feeling where you want to run and climb and be curious and discover all of these different visual perceptions, because nothing is like what you expect it to be. And nothing is like what you expect it to be. And we make the choice to challenge things that are typically deemed outside of our control. So saying we have decided not to die, it really inspired us to think about how we work and how we could find ways to keep our minds and our bodies equally active. And so being really inspired by Arakawa and Gins, we wanted to create our own principles in which we could define our work.
The first one of those is purposeful eclecticism, and the second is designer's performance. And what is purposeful eclecticism? What does it mean? It's this mentality that you can give any project a face. You can give it something that becomes approachable, becomes possibly fun. And we use it to give a typical traditional brief or a new project a little more that takes it into a new place. And it's about giving it a voice, because if everything was black and white and very simple, the world wouldn't be much fun, would it? So it's about pushing that, reframing the brief, recontextualizing a lot of things, and repurposing at the same time.
So the other one is design as performance. It should be active and also follow this idea of reversing our destiny and growing younger in age. And we see our work as something that invigorates and excites us. And if we can use our work as a way for us to prevent aging, like, hell yeah, we're going to try it. We spend so much of our lives sitting, and we want to make sure that we're able to still invigorate ourselves and exercise as much as we can in order to not stay stagnant. Mm-hmm. And so in 2013, we began this relationship that's nearly as old as ours. It started with this lovely woman named Perrin, who wanted to start this blog called Eye on Design. Maybe you guys are familiar with it. It targets the design community around the world. And like every project, things start with a research phase. And so we found this logo that had been done by Paul Rand in the 60s. We love it. So we paid homage to that. Didn't need to change it. And it started small. So we created the branding, we did a website, we watered it, and we watched it grow. And after 4 years, we made some changes, and it continued to grow. And this is now a site that gets viewed thousands of times a month. And so, like us, though, clients do get bored of what they're doing, and they want to push things into something else. So Perrin decided to make this sort of unconference.
And naturally, we had a bunch of graphic assets that we could use. We had this eye that could be this thing that we could use just in a graphic sense. But we wanted to, like the client, push things forward and embrace everything that we love. And that was sort of looking at our childhood references and the things we really love, like whether that's a kaiju from Ultraman, which is amazing. Like, look at all these eyes. There's so many eye things in the world, right? How do we embrace this as designers and not be as aggressive as this guy up here? And how do we make it a little more fuzzy instead? So we took this eye, made it a little less Eye of Saruman, Lord of the Rings, and this eye character would essentially become the brand as a performing character, as a performing logo in videos and photos and printed goodies.
And we built these costumes for each character just with super simple materials, easily accessible. And it doesn't take much for you to create this world behind your vision. And it's just usually like a little bit of foam board, a unisuit, some spray paint. And with most of the things that we make, they're super cheap, they're accessible, and it just takes like a little bit of imagination.
But we didn't stop there. We used something so primitive as a 3-color palette to sort of build this world, to build this purposely eclectic, this componentry to allow things to build and become their own world and translate them into printed materials. But visually, everything is different, but at the same time, it's a system and you can feel it's family and it's purposely eclectic at the same time. So whether that's stickers or bags or jackets. But another thing that was awesome with this project, hopefully everyone's seen the room.
It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Amazing. They got us, we put "Oh, hi, Mark" on every one of these badges. No one knew who fucking Mark was.
Who's Mark? And so once again, more eyeballs. We managed to push through and get a 12-foot inflatable eyeball made, and people seem to be pretty psyched about it. We were pretty excited. And even though this is designed, like, it's performance, and it's purposeful, and it's really eclectic in our eyes, and we're constantly trying to find ways to take things off of the paper or off of the screen and turn them into these personalities. And actually, in most of these videos, this is Wade, and he's the lead actor. And we're proud to show that he learned a few new skills to bring back to the studio. So hula hoops, nunchucking, and becoming more romantic as we go. But, you know, going back to Haru Nakajima, sorry. The reality is it's just a guy in a suit.
Yeah, story of my life, right?
And we love this idea of having each scene being its own performance, from like building our brand to shooting it to ultimately just being physically involved in it. And we think that this is a mentality that can be applied to like everything that we do. And while we do love working on our computers and building typefaces and brand systems, this idea of sitting at a desk all day is a little exhausting and unrewarding to us. And when you include yourselves in the work, it can bring you to this fantastical new world, and it can give you this sense of surrealism or horror. And that's what really makes a project stand out for us, and we can share those feelings with everybody around us.
And even though we really drive off each other and enhance each other's ideas, things aren't always perfect, and we can tell each other when they're being an asshole or when they're being amazing at the same time. And as competitive people trying to make the best work we possibly can, we can have heated discussions, but know we love each other at the end of it.
We welcome the good and the bad, because then we know it's great, and we know what makes life beautiful, and being with somebody else so fulfilling. And we have this idea that the work we make, it's not just for us, like it's for everybody. And we feel so much stimulation from what we put into the work that we make. Like, it's personal, it's emotional, there's love, and that's care, and there's care.
And with the work we make, we want to create these things that trigger awareness, both physical and emotional awareness within the people who interact with them. It's like the thinking about the body and its sort of relation to our surroundings, and the encouragement that allows us to.
Good.
Yeah.
You guys are all brilliant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I keep getting distracted.
Stealing the show.
But we want to. Amazing. We want to encourage these feelings of insecurity, vulnerability, and love, because they're signs of well-being. And when you sort of interact with people and you can be emotionally invested, it makes things better all around.
And when we talk about relationships, we're talking about them in any type of capacity, and we want to inspire intimacy, but we also feel this kinship and camaraderie, and we want to bring other people into this world that we want to create for ourselves. And this is like, it's a place of optimism and approachability where everybody should be able to have fun and feel as we all feel.
And we've got this client, ADO, it's this innovation hub in New York City, and they're like, we want to have a party, we have a date, that's it. So for us, it was like amazing, because they were like, hey, just propose ideas, do what you want. And we're like, all right, cool. We started thinking and sketching what we wanted the party to be. And oddly enough, the party was on February 14th, AKA Valentine's Day. And so we quickly knew what we didn't want the party to be. We didn't want love hearts, we didn't want lots of red. We knew that was fucking totally out of the ballpark. And so we wanted a party for all. So the party named itself. And so this project was one that gave us the opportunity to sort of embrace everything we love about what we do. It was about bringing people together to not only have a good time, but also to exchange ideas, dance moves, even kiss, and to acknowledge that we're all in this together. You know, after we designed, we knew what we wanted to achieve, and we set out the goal to make a party for all and what it would look like. For us, it started by looking at something that brings all ages joy, not alcohol, but sort of dancing, color, and this aspect of play. And we saw the party for all as a way to share this spirit with everything that we're doing.
And so we decided to create this playground that could sort of be interacted with by all, but it didn't define what you could do with it. And so our dancers, like these guys up here, they'd end up being the life of the party, just like they're the life of our talk today. But these people are here to instigate emotion, and maybe someone had come by themselves, maybe a couple was there and they were having a rough day, but we wanted them to feel this joy, and they definitely did. And we love the presence these figures give because it gives us this chance to create our own heroes and reawaken our childhood imaginations. And we would have these figures sort of roam and creep around the party as this way to force interactivity, but also not give you this pressure of knowing who you're reacting with.
So then we had 2 weeks to make all of this stuff. So the next 2 weeks was spent painting in warehouses, drawing and sketching the costumes, lots of taping, lots of painting, lots of masking, lots of satisfactory moments.
Best feeling ever.
Hashtag oddly satisfying.
And we love to have a hand in everything that we're doing. We're never ones to just finish the design process, hand it off to somebody else, and be like, go. We want to be in there from the beginning to the end, and of course, in the in-between, and having this actual physical hand in the work, it's giving us such a personal connection with what we're making.
And so we finally went from a snowy, shitty day and all this stuff living in the back of a truck to building this playground that adults could interact with and play with and climb and sort of be around this color and sort of be present with sort of having fun, And it was about allowing the fun of the party, the positive energy and the space to engulf you, no matter what you're interacting with, whether that was you sitting in between the sculptures or climbing the sculptures or people kissing and us being absolute creeps watching them kissing, but also people dancing because it just makes you feel good. And the only place we wanted to put people in a box was in our literal box, which was a maze. We built a maze in a box. And that was the same kind of thing, overwhelming color, overwhelming sense of joy through color and pattern making.
And it brought us so much joy just to see that this entire setting was making people feel open and loving and happy and caring. And, the real intention isn't just to make a thing, it's to see people kissing and making out inside of it. It's making something to facilitate this emotion. And the results were more than we could ever imagine. It reminds us that we're part of this bigger world and not just a community that lives and breathes design. It's something where we can sort of exercise the opportunity for love and care and human potential. And even though we were sleep deprived and blistered and hungover by the end of all of this, this is the only way we can really encapsulate how happy we were feeling through this entire project. And it's so satisfying to just inject ourselves into all of the work that we're doing. And it isn't this point of vanity, though. It's just the way that we work out of ease and necessity, and we work with people all the time. We do wonderful collaborations, but at the root of it all, we just get the most pleasure out of being involved in every aspect of a project. And we're not self-conscious. Of course, we're not afraid to dress up and make crazy people, idiots out of ourselves, we're definitely not as good of dancers as these guys are.
And I think the last point we want to make is that designers don't need to operate in this heroic solitude. It's always a team effort, it's always a collaboration, it's always a conversation. And like anything, our input's been so strong in the other's output for such a long time, it's almost like everything's connected. And for the most part, we see it like a building. If the structure is good, you can build anything from it. Cheers.
Thank
we went over
you.
time. Shit. Shout out to these guys. Amazing. So good. So good.